Hey everyone, thanks for checking back in. So today I thought I would talk about our second opinion. But first I just want to say that the weird thing about infertility or being told that you're infertile is sometimes you forget. So there's days where I'd be walking through the store, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden I see a cute little onesie with like little stethoscope detailing and I lose it in the middle of the store, like sobbing. Completely embarrassing. Or other times, like I'm at work, I work with children, sorry my neighbor's kids are climbing a tree. I work with kids and there'll be times when I'll be holding a baby and I don't know, that kid just gets to me, you know, like looking directly into your soul, and then you have this moment where you realize that I may never hold the baby that's mine. There's a chance I'll never get to hold a baby in my arms that's my own. It's hard, you know, like I never had that feeling before, but it makes you feel really insecure and like almost like something, like a piece of you is missing. And your eyes well up with tears, and I have to excuse myself from work, just for a little bit, pull myself back together and come back. I've also noticed that like everybody is pregnant, you know, the radiology tech at work is due any day now and she can't wait, and the lady walking down the street looks like she could have a baby any second, and friends and family and colleagues from work, everybody's posting their pregnancy announcements on Facebook, and while I'm very, very happy for those people, it hurts. You know, it's like some people have only been married a year and they're pregnant already, or they're having their second or third baby and I haven't even been able to have one. And it's been a struggle, you know, like you try to stay happy, or I've tried to stay happy for those people, but it hurts. And I know other people with infertility that struggle with the same thing. But I just want you guys out there to know, those of you who aren't struggling with infertility, that we are happy for you. I really am happy that you're pregnant and I'm excited to meet your baby, but it does still hurt deep down inside that I may never have my own baby. So that's just something I wanted to share, that I don't know if you know somebody else that is struggling with infertility and you feel like they haven't handled your pregnancy announcement the way you would have expected. Sometimes it's just dealing with an emotional battle inside, and we're trying to portray the happy emotion because we are happy for you. It's just sometimes the sorrow inside takes over and can be seen on our face. But anyway, the reason we got a second opinion for our infertility is because a couple days after John and I got the news that we were infertile, I heard from a friend of mine who is also seeing that same doctor that doctor was leaving the practice. I was like, what? So I called the practice and they confirmed that she was in fact leaving. I was really confused on why she would take on new patients when she was leaving, and not leaving like in a couple months, but like in 3 weeks. So she had the audacity to tell John and I to our faces that we were infertile and needed IVF, but didn't bother to mention that she wouldn't be the one to do it, which I thought was really rude. I mean, I know you're already breaking bad news, but you should at least like somewhere in there segue, like, you know, I'm really sorry that you're going through this, but we have a great team, we'll support you, something, not just like, hey, you're infertile, peace out. So if that wasn't enough, I also get another phone call from the lab at the office saying that the last test she sent me for, the genetic testing, was gonna be like over $1,000 and it wasn't covered by insurance. But I had already had the blood work done and sent. And so I was just a little upset that they didn't bother to ask, as this was like an optional testing. I mean, yeah, I probably would have had it done anyways, but I should have been warned before I had the test, not like after it was already done, like here is a $1,000 bill that's coming your way, just expect it. So had a slightly bad taste in my mouth from that doctor and that office. So I decided to go to another place that is very well known and see a doctor there. Unfortunately, I think we've mentioned this before, but John works away from home a couple days a week, and the day I got the appointment with this other doctor, John was at work away from home. So I brought a female friend, and we went in, and I was a little nervous at first on what people would say or think with two females going into the office together, but I was very pleasantly surprised, and the office seemed very, very accepting. I mean, they had never met me before. They didn't know if I was homosexual or heterosexual. They didn't know if I had a husband or a wife or whatever. And honestly, I did not feel like they cared either way. It was a very accepting environment, which I found to be fantastic. But my friend and I went in, we talked to the doctor together, and we went over the results from the previous appointments. They didn't do any new blood work or ultrasounds or anything. They were able to use my stuff from the first doctors, which was good. And overall, he agreed that IVF would be the best for John and I. And I asked him a lot more questions than I did to the first doctor, because I think during that first appointment, I was a little bit in shock. I didn't really see it coming, you know? So I didn't know what to ask. This time I prepared myself. I made a list on my cell phone of some like intelligent questions and some not so intelligent questions that I wanted to ask him. So he went over all my questions with me. One of the big things I wanted to know is why we couldn't do IUI. I feel like most of the people I know tried IUI first before going into IVF. And for those of you who don't know, IUI is when they take the sperm and put it like directly into your uterus and kind of let it do its thing. Where IVF, they take eggs out of me, fertilize them, and then put the fertilized eggs back inside my uterus. So it's a little bit more invasive to do IVF and costly. So he said the reason we couldn't do IUI was more because of John's factors. As I mentioned in the last video, John had some issues with motility and clumping of the sperm. He had great counts, but they just didn't like to swim very, very much. Either way, he said with my numbers, he had graphs, he showed me all these things that kind of showed I'm at the level of a 40-year-old woman, not a 30-year-old woman, and that my chances of having kids naturally were pretty low. He even mentioned that there's a chance I may not respond to medications at all, which was a little bit scary, and he said that a donor egg may be the only way that John and I are able to have kids on our own, which is terrifying. We kind of decided that if it came down to a donor egg, that we'd probably just move ahead to adoption. There's something about having a child that's not quite genetically mine that I don't feel like going through a pregnancy, I should say, with a child that's not genetically mine. I don't feel comfortable with it. I know it's right for some people, but for me, being a mother doesn't necessarily mean having to be pregnant and going through delivery. As much as I want that, I think I could be a mother to a child I adopt just as easily. And I would rather, if the kid's not going to be mine genetically, I'd rather adopt a child that's already out there than get a donor egg, if that makes sense. But either way, like, to each their own. That's just what John and I decided for us. But with the IUI, not only are my counts low, but John's sperm doesn't swim well, as I mentioned. So it's kind of like finding one of my eggs to begin with is finding a needle in a haystack, because there's not many to find. And then John's sperm are lazy, so they're not even getting to the haystack, if you know what I'm saying. So we can't do IUI, we gotta do IVF. After the appointment with his doctor, I felt comfortable using him, so I went ahead and said, let's do it. We ordered all the meds. They said they would give me a calendar to kind of follow the protocol, and that's where we left it, and I waited for my shipment to come in. In the next video, I'll kind of talk about what meds I got and what it was like giving myself injections and what follow-up appointments I had. So stay tuned to see that video. But I do want to know, do you guys like these longer videos? Do you like shorter videos? What do you think is the most interesting for you? I don't want to keep doing long ones if I'm boring you, but if you'd rather me lump more information together, I could do that too. Please feel free to ask questions and comment below as usual, and subscribe to see the rest of our journey. Thanks for stopping by.